Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. I've got to tell you, this week could be absolutely massive for XRP and crypto in general. And trust me, there are some seriously compelling reasons why I'm saying that. First off, have you been watching the markets lately? Because, wow, certain coins have been absolutely exploding. This isn't just random luck, folks. The market is showing some incredible strength right now. Now, I'll be completely honest with you. There is one thing that could potentially cause a sell-off this week. I'm not banking on it happening, but I want to keep it real and cover all the possibilities. We'll dive into that in just a minute. But here's what I really want to focus on today. I haven't updated you on some key XRP metrics in a while, and let me tell you, they look absolutely incredible. Like, ridiculously bullish incredible. I keep coming back to this one thing. Just look at how strong XRP has been since the election back in November. That momentum, it hasn't stopped. Not even close. Whether we're talking about institutional money flowing in or the XRP ledger ecosystem metrics, everything is screaming that XRP isn't just an early winner in crypto. It's got serious staying power. And here's the kicker. XRP is sitting above $3 right now, and we haven't even hit the euphoric alt season phase yet. Think about that for a second. We're already at these levels without the main event starting. Now, if you know anything about XRP's history, you'll remember that the final pump is typically way bigger than the first one. And that first pump, it was already life-changing for so many people. Maybe even some of you watching right now. So when I see XRP hanging out at this price level with alt season still ahead of us and everything perfectly positioned, I mean, what more could we possibly ask for? Let's look at the numbers.
XRP is at $3.06. Bitcoin is sitting at $116,206. So what's going to be the catalyst that sets everything off? Well, check this out. Altcoin Gordon, who has over 806,000 followers on X, just posted something that really caught my attention. He said, and I quote, "Huge week incoming for crypto. Rate cuts are just the start." Are you connecting the dots? And you know what? I am connecting the dots. I'm seeing all sorts of activities suggesting people are positioning themselves for something big. And yes, that definitely includes XRP. Think about it. Even when the market hit its low back in April due to tariff fears, what were we seeing? Sure, there was selling pressure, but the smart money, the institutional players, they were accumulating XRP. They could see what was coming, and they took advantage of those lower prices. So what else might Altcoin Gordon be hinting at? Well, he also mentioned something about rate cuts coming, followed by quantitative easing. In simple terms, that means the money printer is about to go burr. And here's his key message. Listen to this. Once that money printer begins, it's too late. Position yourself now or be sidelined for one hell of a bull run. Simple as that, folks. Now, I've got to say, there are still a bunch of coins out there looking pretty cheap right now. Tons of coins are still way off from their all-time highs. XRP, even though it's already had an incredible run, I genuinely think it's got so much catching up to do. It's going to be one of those coins that just keeps performing ridiculously well. I mean, it already has been, but we're nowhere near done. Here's the thing though, I don't think most coins are going to hit new all-time highs. They certainly didn't last market cycle, but that's perfectly fine. Why? Because we were smart enough to accumulate XRP, right? And there's a reason it's been the #1 performer. Now, let's talk about the big event this week, the FOMC meeting and the potential rate cut. You might be wondering, isn't a Fed rate cut already priced into crypto? The short answer, yes, but only partially. Here's what I mean by that. Markets have been expecting a 25 basis point cut for weeks now, so the announcement itself probably won't shock anyone. By the way, mark your calendars, the announcement drops this Wednesday. The FOMC meeting is actually a two-day event, Tuesday and Wednesday, followed by the traditional press conference where Jerome Powell comes out to address everyone. everyone's expecting at least a 25 basis point cut to the federal funds rate. So yeah, that part is definitely priced in. Remember, it's been 2 or 3 weeks since Jerome Powell spoke at that Jackson Hole event in Wyoming, where he basically hinted at this. The market was like, okay, got it. But here's where it gets interesting. Since everyone expects the rate cut, what really matters is the guidance that comes out of this meeting. If Jerome Powell signals multiple cuts ahead or hints at slowing down quantitative tightening, which is totally possible since we're in QT right now, that would be new fuel for the market. That part wouldn't be priced in, and crypto could absolutely take off. This really could be a massive week for XRP and crypto in general. But let me keep it real with you. There's a flip side. If the Fed just cuts once and then plays it cautious, we could see some serious volatility or even a sell the news dip. I know that might sound backwards. Even though rate cuts are what the market wants, it's clearly good news. Sometimes you get that sell-off because everyone was already expecting it. It's one of those weird market psychology things. Here's the bottom line. If we don't get that forward guidance signaling more cuts to come, I honestly don't think we're going to see the market really run. But if we do get that signal, yeah, absolutely, we could see all sorts of confidence that really spurs things along. We'll find out together, and very soon. I mean, we're literally just a couple of days away at this point. But listen, even if we get a sell the news dip, it's not going to change how this cycle ultimately plays out. The rate cut itself is already priced in. It's the path forward that will decide whether crypto rips higher or chops sideways for a bit in the short term. Now, check out this post from chart analyst Crypto Wizard. He's showing us a Bitcoin price chart and says, that's a flip. Bitcoin looks beautiful, doesn't it? And you know what? It actually does. Bitcoin is closing the week bullish. That's a massive reversal signal from the previous highs, which should now act as support. Then he adds, please don't mess it up, pal. And I love that because it's so true. Bitcoin leads the market. So he's basically saying, Bitcoin, please just don't mess this up for all of us. We need more than just one rate cut. We need a signal that there's going to be more to come. If we get that, the market will go absolutely nuts. That's what we need here. Otherwise, yeah, we do risk a sell-off from these levels. But again, even if that happens, the market always figures it out. There are always those knee-jerk reactions, then life goes on, and we keep trending upward. Here's another great post from chart analyst Mustache showing the crypto total market cap excluding Bitcoin. That's the total 2 chart. He says, it finally happened. This is the first time in 4 years that altcoin/total 2 have reached a new all-time high. I hope you're all ready for price discovery afterwards. It was no different in 2017 and 2021.
From that point on, the real alt season began. This is exactly what I keep talking about. This is what you'd hope and expect for this part of the market cycle. You're starting to see things light up in the charts, and this is one of them. I'll keep beating that drum because it just makes sense. This is why it makes sense to be excited, not fearful here. And finally, here's something really fascinating from Crypto Insight UK, showing an XRP/USD chart. The bottom part shows the RSI, the Relative Strength Index. He wrote about times when XRP has hit overbought on the monthly time frame, those yellow lines you see on the chart. Now, this is fascinating because it looks like we just flipped into overbought territory, which might sound scary, except it's not scary at all. History shows us that once an asset becomes overbought, it can actually stay that way for quite some time. Just look at what happened during XRP's previous best bull run, back in 2017 going into early 2018. You can see that first major pump? Look at this thing. It absolutely rocketed up. It got into such overbought territory that it peaked at what would have been probably around 95, 96, maybe even 97 on the RSI. Just to be clear, RSI is a 0 to 100 scale. So if you hit 97, that's about as overbought as something can possibly get. And then what happened? It corrected downward, and XRP moved sideways for about half a year price-wise. But then,
And this is the key part, for its final leg up, look at that. It just rocketed right back up again. This would be totally normal behavior. I'm telling you, once it hits that overbought level, it can stay there for quite some time. It doesn't mean we're screwed the next day or anything like that. Now, fast forward to the next market cycle several years later, in 2021. We were barely in overbought territory for any period of time. But that shouldn't surprise you, because the SEC attacked XRP, which absolutely crushed demand. So yeah, it delayed us getting our life-changing wealth. But look how the market's responding this cycle. It's completely different. Look at how XRP got into overbought territory coming out of November. Then it climbed up to what would have been the 80s on the RSI. It stayed overbought for a while, then came back down as we consolidated sideways. Totally normal behavior. Right now, we're technically sitting at 71 on the RSI. Remember, 70 is when it's initially considered overbought. So I'm telling you, this thing can go way higher. We could get way closer to that 100 level. This is not something to be fearful of. What I'm showing you is that this is actually an indication of strength. Now, yes, eventually we will hit a point where the top is finally in, but that's not what this chart will look like when we get there. As we get closer to that territory, I'll be screaming, "Hey guys, heads up, we're getting into territory where historically XRP starts to peak price-wise. Look at that RSI exclamation mark. We're not there yet." I personally am not the least bit worried about that right now. Crypto was talking about this exact same thing. He shared a similar chart titled XRP RSI Cycle Top Indicator and said, "The curvature is looking remarkably similar, and it's time to prepare for takeoff over the next 2 to 3 months. You can see it clearly in his chart too. It's effectively showing the same pattern. This is exactly what you should want and expect if you're an XRP holder. That's why I'm highlighting this stuff. This is absolutely fantastic, and we are not done. We are absolutely not done. There's nothing in this chart that would indicate we should be fearful that the top is already in for XRP. Everything is telling us that this market's about to rip higher."
And of course, XRP is going to be a huge part of that. It already has been, and that's not going to change here, folks. Here's another great post from chart analyst ChartNerd talking about XRP. He says, "It's a beautiful sight seeing support hold at our predicted XRP targets. 5 weeks ago, we aimed for the correction to bottom out in the $2.60 range, and we basically nailed it. Since retracing to such levels, XRP has rallied 13%, back above the lucrative $3 range. And you absolutely love to see that kind of accurate analysis paying off. Now check this out. If you're looking at the screen, you'll see his flag breakout target, $15.35. That's where he thinks XRP is heading. $15.35? And I'll say it again. I absolutely expect that the final pump is going to be way more impressive than the first pump of this cycle. Historically, that's completely normal behavior. Let me drive this point home even further about why double-digit XRP isn't some crazy ask. Here's something from the market cap website that shows what XRP's price would be right now if it had Ethereum's current market cap. Are you ready for this? If XRP matched Ethereum's market cap today, XRP would be sitting at $9.39. Do we really not think XRP is going to come gunning for that number 2 market cap spot this cycle? I don't know if it'll actually hit it, but it definitely could. And even if it doesn't hit it, it could still get really, really close. And this is just based on Ethereum's current market cap. ETH is trading at $4,655 right now. We did hit a new all-time high recently at $4,942, but the previous cycle's all-time high was pretty close to that, around $4,850 or something like that. So it barely went above it. That's why I keep saying, even if Ethereum just doubles from here, you can see how easy it would be for XRP to get close to $20
if it just matches that market cap. And listen, even if all the people who think XRP will match Ethereum's market cap at the peak are wrong by half, which would be a huge miss, you could still get 10 XRP if Ethereum runs up closer to $10,000. I honestly find it hard to believe they'd be off by that much. I think that dynamic between XRP and ETH never ceased to exist. It was just suppressed last cycle because of all that SEC nonsense.
It's very clear to me that the market is just playing catch-up at this point. And to show you more continued strength, let's look at the number of new accounts activated on the XRP ledger on any given day. This data goes back to last year. Even now, with all the fear we've seen in recent weeks, you're still getting about 4,000 new accounts created every single day. Sometimes higher, sometimes lower, depending on the day. But this is absolutely astonishing. Ever since basically the end of June, it just started rocketing. You had some really massive days, maybe closer to 9,000, and I think it might have even hit over 10,000. One day saw 10,279 accounts created on the XRP ledger in a single day. Compare that to a year ago, when it was more like 1,000 new accounts on any given day. Do you see how much higher the interest is? How people are positioning themselves? It's so obvious what's happening here. This is healthy growth. This shows real strength. It's just one more metric that confirms what we're seeing. And look at the total number of accounts on the XRP Rich List website. You can see it's been trending up constantly. The total number of XRP wallets is now at 6.98 million. Think about this. In just 1 year and 4 months, we went from 5.2 million to almost 7 million accounts. That is absolutely ridiculously impressive. And XRP is finally getting treated the way it deserves to be treated. Given that it's arguably one of the most useful cryptos in existence, with the most real-world utility, yeah, it should be treated this way. And get this, XRP is now the 95th most valuable asset in existence. Check this out from the company's market cap website. They include market caps from all sorts of different asset classes, precious metals, stocks, crypto, everything. And here, you can see XRP sitting at number 95 on this list, with a $182 billion market cap. That's just wild. And there's obviously so much more room to grow. You can see Bitcoin is sitting at number 8. Don't be surprised if XRP ends up much closer to the top of this list at some point. That wouldn't surprise me in the least. I mean, there are thousands and thousands of assets listed here, and XRP is at 95, while clearly not done running yet. Pretty incredible, right? This is exactly what I'm talking about. There are so many indicators showing that everything is healthy and going in the right direction. Now, let's look at XRP inflows. This report is from September 1st, covering the week leading up to that date. In just that 1 week, there was $134 million flowing into XRP, and those are institutional flows specifically. $134 million! I've been highlighting these CoinShares reports from time to time, including back in the first half of the year, during April, May, and June. There were moments when Bitcoin was way down, but you'd still see XRP up by over $100 million some of those weeks. I remember highlighting this at the time. Guys, you see this, right? You know what this is? This is institutional money snatching up XRP and showing more confidence in XRP than even in Bitcoin during that period. The most recent report from 6 days ago shows XRP still up, just not as much, $14.7 million. But look at Ethereum. It was down $912 million.
So it's not like the entire market is pumping. This indicates real health for XRP specifically. Yeah, you're going to have some weeks that are really, really high, and then weeks like this where it's not as exciting, but it's still healthy. This is good stuff. We'll see what happens with the next report, which should be out today or tomorrow. But I'm telling you, if you're not excited right now, I'm convinced you're not paying attention. How could you not be excited to be in crypto, and specifically to be an XRP holder? Things are going to get absolutely insane. The bubble is going to inflate, and we're going to have our opportunity for life-changing wealth. Now, the bubble will pop eventually. Then you'll see major drops, but there will be warning signs when we get there. When we get close to the end of the cycle, I'll be warning you about the indicators that historically signal, hey guys, it's almost over. So if you do want to sell, you can make that decision for yourself. Then we'll be in a bear market, and we get to do it all over again. dollar cost averaging back in. And I absolutely will, even if I sell all of my XRP, which I hope I do, because that would mean the price went so high that I was sufficiently enticed to sell it all. I would love for that to happen, but I'll absolutely buy back a ton of XRP when we enter the next bear market. I'm not going to stop doing this just because the price goes down. XRP doesn't become less viable. That's just market cycle stuff that has nothing to do with fundamentals. I'll focus on large caps because focusing on large caps makes it much more likely that whatever you're holding won't go to zero.
These are the most vetted coins. They're the coins that the world agrees make sense. And I'm glad the world has figured out that XRP makes sense. Right now, it's number 3 in market cap, but getting into that number 2 spot, not crazy at all. I wouldn't be surprised if that happens this market cycle. XRP at $3.06 as I record this, that's going to look dirt cheap in the future. Of that, I feel as confident as I possibly could be.